I'm Zach Brem, roofing contractor with Brem Roofing and Restoration, and we're at the Christ Community Church here in Gainesville, Florida, working on a massive roofing project. Right now, we're working on the existing roof that they had set up here. They're looking for a full re-roof on this with asphalt shingles. We got the shingles completely removed, and now we're working on the felt paper. Once we get the felt paper completely removed on this, our job will be to examine all the plywood to see if there's any damaged plywood on this deck. They're using a H-clip system with 1/2-inch plywood. This roof has been pretty clean so far of plywood. We just had 3 pieces that needed replaced up by the steeple up there, which is a known spot because of the flashing. So we kind of knew going in that there was gonna be some plywood and maybe some wood that needed repaired. These are our favorite type of roofs to work on because the tree coverage is almost non-existent. So whenever we don't have much tree coverage, it helps reduce some of that damaged wood. So you're not gonna really see much fascia damage, much plywood damage. We're not gonna really have to sister any 2x4s whenever you have a roof deck like this one. Another interesting thing that this roof has that we ran into was it's got a large 4.5-inch drip edge around the perimeter of the roof. We had to get it custom made. This isn't really something typical that we run into when we're doing standard roofs. We're gonna put peel and stick underlayment as the decking. So we already have the new construction. It already has the peel and stick underlayment. We're gonna make sure we put that across all this as well. This roof deck will be a nice peel and stick roof deck, added extra barrier of protection as the underlayment. If you ever had a storm come through and the shingles blew off, if you have that secondary water barrier on the roof, it will protect the interior of the home, and the insurance company view that as a premium option for a homeowner. By the end of the week, we should start shingling this roof, new construction and re-roof part of it with a Certainty Landmark shingle. These guys are gonna go with a driftwood color, which is gonna match all the browns with this roof. So should look like a great roof when it's finished, a nice, easy brown tone roof. And then when all that is complete, we got a flat section over here on the new construction build that's gonna be a TPO. Doing 300 squares of re-roof today, and we're doing all the shingles right now. So you can see the guys over here, they're working as a team. You know, we don't have enough pneumatic nailers to get each guy their own. So they help each other out by passing shingles. It just keeps this project moving along. We're trying to get this project completed by Sunday. They want to have regular mass on Sunday. A couple key takeaways that you'll see up here. One of the spots where the lightning rod goes in, and just a little confusing area. It's not something you typically see on a roof. There's a little bolt that's sticking out of the top of the roof. So the crew, what they're gonna do, they're gonna treat it like a normal penetration. We're gonna put roof cement and bowl around there. We're gonna shingle around it like a normal penetration. Electrician comes back in, he'll be able to attach that lightning rod system right back to it. Another thing you might see on a project like this, especially when you're using the Certainty Landmark shingles, whenever the guys have any scrap material, they flip it on the shingle side, the granule side up. And basically why they do that is the bottom side, it has adhesive and all over it. So what you'll see is that adhesive, when it's flipped on the bottom on the shingles, on top of the brand new shingles, what will happen is that adhesive will glue down and you'll see marks all over the roof. So if you come down here, you can see an example of that where, you know, it may have mistakenly been flipped over, and you can see that it leaves a giant stain on the roof. So our guys that have to come in and we'll tear that piece of shingle out and make sure that we get a brand new shingle in there. But this is exactly what happens when it's super hot out right now. So we're gonna get that corrected. Overall, these guys are trained using Certainty Landmark. This is a product that we've used several times on large products. So right here, we got a 4x5 flashing. Usually you run a 4x5 flashing on your leak prone areas, you know, wherever a wall meets the roof line. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a counter flashing on here to make sure that this area is, you know, leak proof and that we don't get any water in behind the flashing here. So essentially what's gonna happen is the counter flashing is gonna come over the top here and cover this area, and it'll prevent water from creeping in behind. Because if you just leave this flashing right now, water can get behind that, and we do not want that. So if there was hardy board coming in or stucco, that would do the job there and waterproof it. But since that's not happening, we got to put a counter flashing in this area. In this case, the church is going to decide to put just a little bit of paint on this. We're on day 4 of the Christ Community Church project that we're working on. And right now our crew is wrapping up the new construction shingle part. Yesterday they completed pretty much all of the reroof portion. We finished half this new construction side, and now we're working on the back side of the new construction. Right now we have 10 workers up here working. We got 5 guys nailing, while the other 5 guys are feeding them as they're installing the shingles. Just a complete team project on this. We got a couple guys on the grounds doing cleanup right now. So overall, these guys are just working their tails off. Big things left are just finishing up the shingles today. We'll end by putting our hip and ridge shingles across the top here. There's gonna be no ventilation on this roof, just like all the other roofs that we had. There's no ridge vent or no off-ridge vents on this. So the guys, once they get everything completely shingled to the top, they'll just put their ridge shingles on the top, and that'd be the finishing piece. The bulk of this re-roof and new construction is gonna be complete today. This area is about 100 squares in total. There's 3 sections on this roof that we're gonna be working on. So right now we're putting the pieces together of the ISO board. This is gonna be a tapered ISO system. We're using GAF products on this. We're gonna get the GAF warranty on this. We're gonna follow manufacturer specs to make sure that this is spec'd out exactly how GAF wants to get that warranty. We have a lot of ISO board on this roof. There's about 400 squares of ISO board on the entire roof. It's a 6-inch ISO. We're gonna do a base layer of 3 inches and then a top layer that's 3 inches on top of that. With that too, the ISO board is gonna get you that R value to insulate the building. So that's why we're putting a 2 layer on there with the 6 inches. Right here, this is our 2nd layer on top. So our ISO board is attached by plates and screws. And based on how thick the ISO is, depends on how long your screws are gonna be. So with this being a 6-inch ISO, we are gonna use longer screws to adhere into our steel deck that's laid down. It's a tapered system that's gonna be going into scuppers, and we have some emergency drains as well. So if the scuppers back out, we got 2 emergency drains on this level, and there's 2 emergency drains on the bottom level. Top level up here, it's sloped slightly, so everything's gonna slope down onto this level. With this being a flat TPO roof, it's not a water shedding roof, so that's why it's important that we have multiple areas that water can exit, and then you gotta have emergency drains per code. One thing we did notice that was brought to our attention when we were doing our takeoff, that the scuppers are a little bit on the higher side. It doesn't seem like it would be much of a problem until when you fasten the ISO down. So when you push this ISO down, you're gonna see that there is a slight lift on where our scupper is gonna be. This is where water's flowing out. You can see my finger, it doesn't quite go high enough. So what's gonna happen is water's gonna back up behind here, and all our scuppers are gonna have pooling. And that's exactly what you don't want on a TPO roof system. So our team's gonna have to come in, we're gonna have to shave down the cement right here to get it where water's gonna flow out. The last thing we want on this roof is to have any ponding areas. We're gonna have some ponding, but we don't wanna have ponding created by something that we could have solved before we started the project. We're working around penetrations over here. This is where our AC units are gonna go. Ladder hatch is gonna go over there as well. We're just getting everything framed out properly. Putting this puzzle together is what we're doing on day 1. The GC asked us, he wanted us to put the ISO and TPO on the areas that are gonna have anything interior. So they're waiting on us to get the TPO going so that they can get an electrician in here underneath. So they're counting on us to get this knocked out. And then the last place we'll go is this outside area over here, due to the fact that it's not a heated and cooled area. So it's not as important that we get that area covered with TPO today. We're doing a pull test. We're getting ready to run our first run of TPO here. So we're trying to see the strength of the TPO weld to make sure that our TPO is hot enough on the weld. You always want to do a sample of this to make sure that the weld's hot enough, because if it's not hot enough, this isn't going to stick together and weld together properly. So after doing our pull test, clear to go ahead and move on and do our test right here with our TPO seamer right here. So this TPO heat welder, it's got the perfect temperature right now to weld our seams together and our laps as we're putting together the first rows of our TPO. So guys here are fastening the TPO with our plates and screws. Our other guy over here is welding the TPO. This would be the process throughout the entire roof here as they fill in this section right here. We started off with a 5 square roll running it, and then our first weld was on another 5 square roll. We're gonna get ready to run a 10 square roll here. These are much larger rolls. This is gonna cover a lot of area. They ended up getting all the ISO board laid out, all the crickets made. We got everything laid out on this whole area here. We still have the top layer to do in the bottom section as well. What the crew's working on right now to start the day is we're working on our penetrations. We're gonna be putting some split TPO boots. So over here, you can see we're applying adhesive to our TPO that's gonna go up the curb. So right now the guys are gonna be flashing all our curbs. We got guys hand welding the areas. We're putting our T-patches around. One of the big things on TPO is making sure you have a dry, clean surface when you're doing your welds. It's very important to make sure that all this TPO is wiped down before we try to make a weld. So over here, you'll see he rubbed some kerosene on it with a wipe, wiped it off, and then was able to put some adhesive down, and now he's heat welding that area so that no water is gonna get in that penetration. Applying it all around all our curbs so that this can last without leaking for over 20 plus years. There's 2 ways to go about installing your TPO along a wall. You can either put term bar at the bottom, which we did on this wall over here. We're gonna run our TPO up 12 inches and term bar it. But on this side where the 3-foot parapet wall is, we're gonna run it over the top of the wall and we're gonna term bar it on the back. If you can, it's better to go TPO over the wall. It's just better for leaking. You don't have to worry about flashing, giving out like you would on a term bar. Obviously on this wall, you know, this is a 20-foot wall. We're not gonna be able to put TPO, run it up and over. So we have no choice but to term it. But good thing is there's an overhang over there and there shouldn't be much water. Just some final details of the counter flashing. There you can see the term bar and the framing pins are in there right now. And we're just getting this final corner piece done with our counter flashing. Over the weekend, the crew came out, knocked out this bottom part down here. So the only things we really have left to do up here is we got this upper area that they'll be finishing today. So we'll get our ISO board on here. And then there's one more level that needs built out yet, but is planned to be built out in the next day. This is a covered walkway. If there's cars pulling up, people can get out of here without getting wet. And then our team's gonna come in and put ISO board on and finish this area. The crew right now is working on this top section right here. So this is one of the only sections on this project that isn't gonna be heated and cooled underneath. So with that being said, we're not gonna have as much ISO. So it's not gonna be as thick of an ISO on this section. This is one of the final steps they have to do up here, other than the hatch and ladder that they'll be installing up here on the top side.